Welcome back to Ground Rules, where we go beyond the numbers to understand what is really moving South Africa's agricultural markets. And this week, there is plenty to talk about. Tomato prices took a massive 28% knock last week. And unfortunately, I do not think the pressure is over just yet. In potatoes, Limpopo's winter crop is looking fairly promising so far, which could bring more volumes and potentially more pressure on prices over the coming months. Sweet peppers, on the other hand, may be getting closer to a turning point. And over in the fruit market, I remain positive on bananas and avocados, while orange volumes are still sitting at an extraordinary 89% above where they were this time last year. So what should our producers, our traders and consumers be watching over the next few weeks? Let's get right into it. Ground Rules and AMT have joined forces to make this trusted agricultural market information available in English. Follow AMT for Afrikaans market updates and Ground Rules for English market updates, all supported by AMT's trusted agricultural database and market insights. One thing, though, to keep in mind before we get into the individual markets, we are moving closer to the middle of the month, which typically means that consumer demand may start to ease. That could put additional pressure on prices as we head towards the weekend, provided supply remains consistent and hasn't been significantly affected by the recent cold as well as wet conditions. It's gonna be a cold week. Get those veggies and get those stews going. So keep an eye out on what's happening in your particular production region and let us know in the comment section. Potatoes. Let's start off with potatoes this week. The average potato prices traded largely sideways last week at 64 Rand 38 cents per 10 kilogram bag. Looking at the different categories, we've got Sifra potatoes that average 69 Rand for a 10 kilogram bag. We got Class 1 large mondials, which averaged 78 Rand for 10 kilogram bag. And then we've got the Class 1 medium mondials that declined to 63 Rand for a 10 kilogram bag. This is normally the time of the year when attention shifts firmly towards Limpopo's winter potato crop. The big question is always, has there been any significant weather damage? And what will that mean for market supplies? So far, conditions in Limpopo appear relatively favorable. And because of that, I do not expect any significant upward price movements this year. In fact, we may just see the opposite. As those Limpopo volumes begin reaching the market over the next 2 months, they could gradually place more pressure on potato prices. The first producers around Christiana should now be starting to finish up, but the larger market impact is likely to come from the northern regions as the additional Limpopo volumes start to reach the market. So, the Ground Rules potato outlook, relatively sideways in the short term, but with growing downside risk as Limpopo's crop reaches the market. And here, we would love to hear from you, from the Limpopo producers. What is happening in your regions? Please let us know on Ground Rules. How is your crop looking right now? Drop your region and a quick update on the conditions of your crop in the comments. You know, what happens in Limpopo over the next few weeks could have a significant impact on where potato prices go next. Now, as we shush on over to tomatoes, now this market really grabbed attention last week. We saw tomato prices plunging by 28% to reach 7 Rand 25 cents per kilogram. At the same time, the volumes increased by 24% week on week, which was largely in line with expectations, yes. And unfortunately, I remain concerned about this particular market. There is still a lot of supplies coming through, and those high volumes could keep prices under significant pressure throughout the entire August. Based on the information currently available, my outlook for tomatoes remain negative. From one crying topic to another, we move over to onions. Onion prices also moved lower last week, declining 5% to an average of 81 Rand 91 cents for a 10 kilogram bag. Breaking that down, we've got the brown class 1 medium onions averaging 106 Rand for a 10 kilogram bag. we got the white class 1 medium onions averaging 100 Rand for a 10 kilogram bag, and the red class 1 medium onions declining to 182 Rand for a 10 kilogram bag. Interestingly, onion supply over the past month has been lower than expected, and that has helped to actually keep the prices at relatively elevated levels. But I do not expect that support is going to last indefinitely. We've got additional supplies that are supposed to reach the market over the next few months, and we expect that the onion prices will remain in a downward trend. So the outlook for onions over the next few months remains bearish. Now, looking over at carrots, carrot prices declined another 3% last week to reach 5.36 Rand per kilogram. And here I think we could see a very similar story to tomatoes. Higher supplies combined with weaker demand could keep our carrot prices under significant pressure throughout August. At this stage, I am not expecting a strong recovery, to be honest. My short-term outlook for carrots also remains negative. Sweet potatoes are where things become a little more interesting. The average sweet pepper prices declined 11% to 14.78 Rand per kilogram last week. But there were some very different movements between the individual colors. We've got green peppers actually increasing 10% to reach 12.8 Rand per kilogram. We got yellow peppers dropping 32% to reach 19.79 Rand per kilo, and then we've got the red peppers declining 28% to reach 21.38 Rand per kilo. This is one market where I'm becoming a little more positive. Supply could begin to decline from here, and historically, sweet pepper prices tend to strengthen during August until September. So, my outlook for sweet peppers over the next few weeks is more positive, provided we begin seeing that expected reduction in supply. This could be one of the markets worth watching for a potential turning point. Now, moving elsewhere across the vegetable market, we saw cabbage prices declining to 3.24 Rand per kilo. Sweet potatoes increased to 4.17 Rand per kilo. Spinach dropped 6% to reach 4.01 Rand per kilo. Butternut increased to 5.64 Rand per kilo. Pumpkins strengthened to 2.72 Rand per kilogram. Green beans declined to 17.9 Rand per kilogram. And cucumbers jumped higher to reach 31.36 Rand per kilogram. Garlic also continued to strengthen. The average garlic price increased to 67.13 Rand per kilogram, with locally produced garlic trading around 65 Rand, while imported garlic averaged approximately 67 Rand per kilogram. Now, let's move over to fruits. There were a few interesting long-term trends beginning to emerge, and I'd love to get into it, right? So, bananas. Banana prices strengthened another 6% last week to reach 10.86 Rand per kilogram. That works out to roughly 195 Rand for an 18 kilogram box. But the price increase in bananas itself isn't necessarily the most important part of the story. The supply is. This year, we are seeing quite a significant lower banana volume compared with the previous 2 years, and that reduced supply is already supporting higher prices. So if this trend continues, I expect banana prices could strengthen further as we move towards the end of the year. So what is the ground rules medium-term outlook for bananas? We remain fairly positive. On apples and pears, we have seen a prices decline on apples, slightly by 1% to reach 9.44 Rand per kilo. Pear prices also fell 2% to 9.72 Rand per kilo. Looking ahead, apples may now begin moving into a stronger upward trend. Pears, however, may only start showing more meaningful upward momentum from around September. Orange prices managed a modest recovery last week, increasing 2% to reach 2.45 Rand per kilogram. But the year-on-year comparison remains extraordinary. Orange prices are still 46% lower than they were a year ago, while the market volumes are sitting at an 89% higher year-on-year volume. The good news is that we may be finally moving beyond the worst of the season's supply pressure. Volumes reaching the market could begin to decline from here through the end of the year. Quality does remain a concern, but if supplies does begin to ease, orange prices could gradually move into a slow upward trend over the next few months. Elsewhere in the citrus industry, we saw lemon prices increasing last week to reach 4 Rand 3 cents per kilo, while the grapefruit prices dropped 20% to reach 3 Rand 91 cents per kilogram. Now, for the guacamole lovers, avocados this week, we remain quite positive on avocados. Prices increased 3% last week to an average of 17 Rand 38 cents per kilogram. By variety, the Forte avocados averaged 28 Rand per kilo. The Haas avocados averaged 14 Rand per kilo. Supply should gradually become tighter from here, and that could help avocado prices a step higher over the next 2 months, potentially around 20 Rand per kilogram, as we have said in our previous episodes. Then towards the end of the year, when supply becomes significantly tighter, we could see another step upwards, potentially taking prices closer to a 30 Rand per kilogram. The ground rules outlook for avocados therefore remains positive. Now looking into our table grapes, our pineapples, and our blueberries, we saw table grape prices declining 13% last week to reach 71 Rand 3 cents per kilogram. Local table grapes are now out of season, which means imported fruit will play a greater role. And imported prices can create considerable volatility in the local market. Pineapple prices declined to 10 Rand 56 cents per kilogram. Blueberries fell sharply again, dropping 20% to 82 Rand per kilogram. Blueberry prices are expected to remain at these lower levels for the rest of the year, with a meaningful recovery potentially only beginning around February 2027. So, what are the most important things to take away from ground rules this week? Number 1, tomatoes. They remain my biggest short-term concern. Strong supplies could keep prices under considerable pressure throughout August. Number 2, potatoes. Prices are relatively stable for now, but if Limpopo's crop continues coming in as well as expected, I see increasing downside risk over the next 2 months. Number 3, sweet peppers. This is the market I'd be watching for a potential upward turning point, particularly if supply begins declining as expected. And finally, in the fruit market, we've got positive sentiment around bananas and avocados. While oranges may finally be starting to move beyond the worst of this season's extraordinary supply pressures, we are still a little concerned about that. So, ground rules this week is simple. Don't look at price movements in isolation. Watch the supply behind them. A 28% fall in tomatoes, an 89% increase in orange volumes, or a stronger banana prices all tell us something bigger about what's happening further back in the agricultural value chain. Understanding those signals is what helps us make better decisions before the next market move arrives. Thank you for joining us for yet another Ground Rules Fresh Produce Market update. We will be back next week to unpack the numbers, the trends, and the market signals that matter to the South African fresh produce market producers, consumers, as well as traders. Until the next time, stay informed, stay curious, and remember the best farming decisions always start with some solid ground rules.